We live. We going good. 3 people already. Like you all. Again, must apologise for the rushed nature of this. Unfortunately, just been really busy with work, so we've not had time to film anything, which is a bit of a shame for you guys. I know we had some really cool content lined up, but we just not had time to film, which is the only downside. Hello, Mr. Notic. How are you this evening? So yeah, we just had loads of good content to film, some of which we'll be covering today, which we will be doing full reviews of regardless of this live, because we want to give you guys like a nice short, brief context of everything too. But today, we're pretty much going to be covering Christmas, because it's that time of year, and we're going to be covering cask strength whiskies too. Now I know Roy has done something about cask strength whiskey. Evening, colourless blue things, nice to see you. I know Roy's done something about cask strength whiskey. I still haven't watched it yet. I've just not had time with work and just been exhausted when I get home. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do like a little overview of Christmas when a few more people join in. We'll start asking some Christmassy questions, see what you guys have got or anything you bought yourself already for the festive period. And then we're going to dive into some really, really cool stuff. I've eaten and I've drank a lot of water because we're going to be covering 1, 2, 3... maybe 5 cask strength whiskies. Hi Phil, nice to meet you, man. So maybe 5 cask strength whiskies covering very small samples because I do have work in the morning. But nonetheless, for the 9 of you that are in, hopefully we'll get a few more in a second because I am 2 minutes early, but I accidentally just pressed the live button. So here we are. Let's go with it. Let's just roll in free for all. So what have you guys got anything, and girls, have you guys got anything lined up for your Christmas, whiskey-wise? Anything you've kind of got something going on? Purchased my first cask strength last week. Booker's. Dude, we just got Booker's back into the shop where I work on Tuesday. Been asking for it for ages, but not seen any of it for a while, so it's nice to know that some people are getting it. It's good. So you got to get the Christmas present, and it's a cask strength whiskey. It works wonderful for this stream. Personally, I don't really get a lot of... Phil, great show. Really love cask strength spirits. We're going to talk through some really nice ones today. Really, really nice ones. Some of which we've covered and some of which are brand new. Interesting thing for Christmas, because I work in the whiskey industry and I do this. Well, I don't do this a lot, but you know the channel. No one buys me whiskey. I think the only whiskey I've ever been given as a gift was maybe 2 years ago by my brother. He bought me a bottle of Johnny Walker Black Label, which I love. And I think that's the only present I've ever been given as like a Christmas gift from my family. Picking up cask strength Lot 40 tomorrow. It's a cask strength time of year. Beautiful whiskey. I tried that. Jeremy from Social Sippers Club sent me a sample of that, and I still owe him samples too, so I will make sure I get onto that for you, Jeremy. When I'm in Canada in January, I'm actually going to try and get them to be sent whilst I'm in Canada, because I think it'll be easier, because from the UK it's really hard to send stuff to Canada. Just tasted Jura 1 and all 20-year-old cask strength. I read, was that the most recent one? Because there was one for you, one for the road, and one for all. And I can't remember which one came first. And I can't remember which one was last, but I remember one of them used quarter casks, which I was really intrigued in. Because Jura, when they do cask strength stuff, really good. Aaron 12, Springbank 12, haven't opened either, looking forward to. I've tried Springbank 12 cask strength, and some of them I've loved, and some of them have been a little bit hit and miss for me, which is by no means a reflection on your bottle. Aaron is just great. You can't go wrong with Aaron. I've never had a bad Aaron whiskey, be it independent or standard. Oh, excuse me. It's been a very long day at work. I got home about 45 minutes ago. I've just eaten and just like threw water down my throat. What part of Canada? I will be on Victoria Island for the Victoria Island Whiskey Festival. That'll be fun. And I think I land on the... Hi, Lewis. I leave England on the 16th, but I think I arrive pretty much on the 16th in Canada, because I'll be going backwards in time. Like Back to the Future. And then I'm there until the 22nd. So I'll be on Victoria Island. I'm going to try and get over to Vancouver for a day, but I don't know how easy that's going to be. We'll see. But I'm going to try and get some samples sent over to some people while I'm there and pick up something interesting, be it whiskey or maybe some just Canada-related stuff that I can't get in the UK. You'll be near Trinity? I will be near Trinity and Food Quick. We've kind of brought it up in a chat before. We have like a Twitter group with everyone in it. Brought it up briefly, but you know, the time differences are so unusual that they probably didn't see the message. Hi, Tony. So, for those of you that are still joining, we're still talking Christmas gifts. And have you bought whiskey for anyone, or are you, have you bought something for yourself? Because in a situation at this time of year where you're buying numerous different gifts, it's always worth picking something up for yourselves. But while you all kind of think about that, and as more people join in, hopefully, we'll kind of move on to cash strength stuff too, while we all chat about Christmas things. Now, having not watched Roy's video yet, which I plan to after this, I probably should have done it beforehand, but I'm a little bit stretched today. What is cash strength whiskey? Why do we like cash strength whiskey? Why do some of us maybe not like cash strength whiskey? It's a very unusual thing, cash strength spirits, because if you think about it, maybe with the exception of rum, cash strength vodka isn't really a thing. Cash strength gin is getting on. Some people are doing like higher strength gin, like navy proof rum, and I forget what the cash strength version of gin called. Is it navy proof gin? I think so. Correct me if I'm wrong. But whiskey, I think cash strength. I always think whiskey. You can call me biased, but that's the way it is. And I think it's very interesting as a gift. I think it's very interesting for us, the drinkers, as well as the reviewers, to be given cash strength whiskey. Because if you think about it, the company, specifically the distiller and the blender, as long as it fits within the tax criteria, they're giving you the ability to, they've given you the batch at its natural strength. And then you get to sit at home and kind of work it and tweak it to figure out what combination works for you. And I think it's a wondrous way to allow the everyday drinker, people who maybe aren't interested in, those crazy Barblare 91. Macallan Classic Cut 2018. I've not tried the Macallan Classic Cuts. In fact, I've never tried any official Macallan cash strength, which is kind of annoying because I'm a little bit of an old school Macallan fanboy, and some new school stuff as well. But well done with the Classic Cut. I got the opportunity to buy one of those and just passed it up, and I've no idea why. It was like £80 on Macallan's website, but I didn't have the money at the time. Apologies, I keep burping. I'm really sorry about that. Hopefully it won't pick it up on the mic. Yeah, cash strength stuff. It gives you us, the ability to take this batch, this blend, or sometimes even this single cask, and it allows us to perfectly tune to a finite level what we think is suitable for us. And I think that explains a lot to the general public when you're talking about whiskies at 40%, 43, 44, 46, 47, 50, 55, 67, sometimes even 70% alcohol. I think it's the best way to really get a fundamental understanding without having to go into crazy detail about surface tension and different chemicals being released, that you can just like sit there and go, add 1 drop, add 2, add 3, add 4, and just see which one works and see which different flavours come out and what makes it different and unusual for you. So with that, and a little bit of a shout out to Alan, who runs Whiskey Friend. Only reason for 12-year-old Cherokee. The 12-year-old Cherokee is good. I tried the newest batch a couple of weeks ago and wasn't too impressed. It's the one in the new bottle with like the V-neck bottle. Wasn't loving it. I think the older ones with the slender bottles, those batches just taste a bit nicer to me. But anyway, Alan, who runs Whiskey Friend, which is a lovely channel, he's put a few videos up and the content's getting better and better and better. He's got an awesome whiskey selection. And unfortunately, I forgot that he also lives in Manchester like I do. And he popped round to the shop the other day and he gave me some really nice samples. Repaid him with some Lagavulin 12 cash strength. Hey, Billy. Love this guy. And he gave me some really cool samples. He gave me some Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, which I now have 3 different samples of, so I can test them side by side. That's kind of fun. He gave me a sample of his own Infinity bottle. And I've never, ever come across... I've never tried anyone's Infinity bottle yet. I've never made one myself, because it's never something I've got. The Tamdu batch one is pretty close to cash strength. I've never tried an Infinity bottle, and I've never made one. It intrigues me as a concept, but I'd just rather drink the bottle of whiskey. I think that's just where my priorities kind of lie. So he gave me Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, a sample of his own, an Infinity bottle, and this thing. For those of you who can kind of make out that. He's got very good handwriting. My handwriting's awful. This is the Glengoyne Teapot Dram. It's released 6, or batch 6, 59.3%. Now, unfortunately, I have never had much experience with Glengoyne. I've tried the 10, I've tried a 12, I've tried the newest 10-year-old cash strength, which came out this year, which was lovely. But this is my first experience of Glengoyne Teapot Dram. And I thought this was quite appropriate considering Roy's he covers the teapot, and it was a very, very in-demand whiskey this year. I've been managing a shop. I've been asked for it numerous times, but unfortunately we couldn't get any. But now I have the sample set in front of me. I've been resting it for about 20 minutes in a glass. Just while it's sat in here, you can see this kind of beautiful, for some reason the camera's got like a yellow tinge to it, but you can see this kind of, it's got almost like beautiful amber, I don't want to say sienna because that reminds people of Macallan, but it's got this nice kind of sienna tinge to it. And at 59.3%, it is not a whiskey to be fooled with. But, you know, Glengoyne is renowned for being this kind of soft, delicate, really, really, really easy style. But they've got depth to them as well. Just subscribe to Whiskey Friend, number 100. Hey, he's got 100 subs. Amazing. Nice. Awesome, Fred. Nice one. Alan's great. He's got some really good whiskies. He knows what he's talking about. He's got a really good nose and really good palate. He's very honest as well. And that's always a bonus in this industry. But I'll repeat the question again. If you guys do have any like really good Christmas presents that are coming your way, can't believe you're on a live. I know every now and then it does happen. What's the best whiskey for under £100? Probably Glendronach 18. Wolf. I haven't. You know, Tony. I've tried no Wolfburn. I've had the opportunity to, and I always sort of bypassed it for something else. I've no idea why, but I have at the minute I have an unbiased view of Wolfburn because I've never tried any of them. But I've wanted to, but I've just not had the time or the real kind of neutral palate to try it. Every time I've seen it, it's been in a bar, and I've always been like already drinking something else, and the palate's kind of screwed. Best whiskey for under £100. I mean, Glendronach 18's in there. I'm a big fan of Glenmorangie Quinta Reuben. That's really good. And a few other things that kind of kick around in that style too. But this is batch 6 of the Teapot Dram. First cask strength one of the night. It's not the strongest that I will be talking about tonight. We do have a particularly very, very powerful Scotch single malt to walk through. And a very unusual whiskey from New Zealand as well. But I'll sample this and we'll be adding water to it throughout just to give ideas of how things change. I know my camera isn't great and I don't have the best home camera setup, but we will kind of walk you through slowly how this works. Hello, Jason from Germany. So this has got a very interesting nose, and it's a whiskey style on the nose that I've not really come across before. The first thing I get is like raspberry and strawberry, and having not tried much older Glengoyne, things like the 18s, the 21s, the 25s, I'm aware they use a lot of sherry cask influence, but for me, a smelling note of raspberry, for me is quite untypical with a sherry cask. That's more related to a port barrel. A little bit of dark chocolate, like really kind of dark, crisp, wafery kind of chocolate. But you do get the booze. The booze is very, very present. Hello, everybody. Hello to you, sir. It does kind of skip around on the top of the palate quite a lot, and it's almost kind of minty. It's a mintiness that I would normally associate with like an American cask influence. So I'd imagine some of the barrels that were going into this were probably American oak, even though, you know, most of it is sherry. But most unusually, along with that kind of minty, almost like polo mint, you know, breath mint kind of style, Mr. Style, am I drinking? Sherry malt drams, I'm drinking batch 6. Well, I'm smelling batch 6 of the Glengoyne Teapot Dram, which was kindly given to me by Alan over at Whiskey Friend. So check his channel out if you haven't already. But with the mintiness and that kind of like breath mintiness, there's some very, I get like a balsamic-y, kind of like red wine vinegar note to it. Reminds me of like smell of like an Italian kitchen making fresh food. It's like balsamic vinegar, red wine vinegar. It's kind of acidic and kind of fresh at the same time. Not lemony. I wouldn't verge it into citrus in any way. Just like acidic, but kind of savoury and, you know, culinary acidic and savouriness. For those of you that are watching, I've promised that this won't run over time because I know I'm kind of infamous for making these things last for ages, like nearly 2 hours. But what's my thought on... I enjoyed batch 7. I thought it was quite nice. I was not a fan of Glendronach cask strength batches 1 to 3. I didn't think they work for me. He's got to keep working. He just want to say hello. Hello, man. Batch 5, 6, and 7 from Glendronach. 5 was like a turning point for me, and 6 and 7 I was quite impressed by. And I've never not been impressed by most Glendronachs. Normally they are impressive to the dot, 12 all the way through to 21s. But it's only recently where I've thought the Glengoyne cask strength, Glendronach cask strength was better. You like 6 better than 7? I can see why. I just appreciated how delicate the heat was and how delicate the alcohol was with 6 and 7. But 7 for me, I just enjoyed the finish a little bit more. I just thought it had slightly more going on. Yeah, this Glengoyne, weird. You still get alcohol, raspberries, dark chocolate, like balsamic vinegar and kind of like red wine vinegar, acidic kind of approaching styles to it. I haven't tried it yet, so my first example of this whiskey's approach to the palate will be in front of all you guys. So let's see that. See what happens. Oh, it's spicy. And much more savoury than what I thought it was going to be. The actual palate and the finish reminds me quite a lot of Bal Blair. That kind of like green. What is that? It's almost like an oregano or like a basil, thymy green herb kind of note. Again, like more Italian kind of influences there, like Italian culinary styles. Maybe I'm just really hungry and I'm not aware of it, but that is nowhere near what you'd think it would taste like. You think it'd be like this really instantly sweet kind of whiskey. Jesus, it is not. It is spicy and savoury and really, really intense. I'll try a little bit more, as it is, at 59.3, and then I'm going to add a little bit of water into it. I'm going to kind of dissect this whiskey a little piece by piece. 40 quid? No, that's pretty good. Yeah, Tamdoo's a good buy. I've never had bad Tamdoo. I think it's funny that they do a 10, and then they do all the way up to a 50, but there's not much in between. I think that's kind of funny. Yeah, they're really, really good quality whiskey. Some of the best Tamdoo I've ever had has been independent bottlings. Not to say the regular ones aren't good, but I tried a Tamdoo 30-year-old the other day, like independent bottle whiskey. It's like 250 quid for a 30-year-old whiskey. Really good. It was like 54%, and that tasted delicious, like starburst, really tropical and fruity. And I tried a Tamdoo 9-year-old independent the other day, which was again really fruity without the intensity, but just like really kind of like big fruit bomb kind of style. So one more sip of this at natural strength, and then we're just going to add water to and from it. I've not got like a pipette or a jug. I'm just going to kind of pour what I think is appropriate out of a bottle. So one more try. Your first sip of cask strength whiskey is always quite intense. Initially, the arrival is very syrupy. It feels thick, as you'd expect it to be, because it's natural colour and there's no filtering on it either. But then I'm still baffled by how it turns into this big, savoury whiskey. There's almost no sweetness to it. Getting like almost like olives. I think I am just hungry. All I'm getting from the palate on this Glengoyne is just like savoury Italian style foods. Mediterranean, you could say. So what we're going to do now, it's just like a bottle of water. I'm going to pour some into the cap, and then we're just going to slowly add it bit by bit. Now, I'm not going to add it all at once, because that kind of ruined the point of this. Christmas giving me Highland Park Kapang. Single cask, 59.9% at 13 years old. Interesting you mentioned high proof Highland Park. We'll be moving on to one of those later. But I've got Glengoyne. I got my little thing of water. That's maybe like a quarter of the cap. Roll that in and see what happens. actually gets spicier. Yeah, the strawberry notes is those strawberry notes are kind of gone away. And now I'm just getting more of the alcohol. There's still an element of dark chocolate to it, like a kind of cocoa syrup, like a creme de cacao kind of thing. But the alcohol is much more prevalent. We've lost some of those kind of lighter floral notes that were there before. Strawberries, kind of red fruits. Still getting the kind of acidic, almost like glazy, balsamic thing to it. But does it change the taste? Let's see. Have I tried any of the Glenglassaugh? I have tried a few. I've tried the Evolution, the Revival, and the Torfer. I tried them when they first came out, when they were like 4 years old. I tried them again last year when they were approaching kind of 7 years old. I honestly thought they were quite good. I can't remember if it's the Revival or the Evolution, which uses just Tennessee bourbon barrels, so Jack Daniel's barrels essentially. Really enjoyed that. That's got like a banoffee pie, like custardy, super vanilla bomb thing going on with it. Whichever one that is, the other one uses red wine casks and like a lot of sherry. Thought that was okay. And then my experience of Glenglassaugh Torfer, the first time I had that, I bought one because I'd never seen it before. I thought that's kind of cool. 50%, like 5 years old, fairly peaty. Went to my then girlfriend's house. It was really cold. She made chili, so I ate chili, and I was already quite drunk from a tasting. And then I cracked it open and had a bit, and like it was the spiciest, most full-on thing I'd ever tried, and it kind of blew me away. But the more I got into that whiskey, the more I enjoyed it. I've read a couple of reviews on a couple of blogs for people that really don't enjoy the Glenglassaugh style. If you don't, there are opportunities to try the older ones because they do a lot of single cask expressions. Under their new ownership, I'm not sure if that will be the same as it was when Billy Walker used to own it. But you could get like a 27-year-old whiskey for like 180 quid. Cash strength, all the fun stuff. So in that sense, I like Glenglassaugh. I think of the three distillery, Benriach, Glendronach, Glenglassaugh, I think Benriach and Glendronach have got such solid core ranges that you don't really need to mess around with that too much. Glenglassaugh is like this experimental cool distillery which you should be, doing many different things with and trying to explore more. But in general, I think Glenglassaugh is pretty good. I don't dislike it at all. I think Tony just said that the Revival is all bourbon, so that's the one that's just the ex-Tennessee barrels. So it's the Evolution, which must be bourbon, sherry, and red wine. And then the Torf is all bourbon barrel. But this year, in fact, I think it's this month. Hi Phil, just tuned in. Is that your Glengoyne cask strength? It's the Teapot Dram, batch 6, Russell. Courtesy of Alan at Whiskey Friend. Added a little bit of water to it. It was really kind of red fruity and chocolatey. Now it's just become like more acidic and almost like balsamic vinegar, red wine vinegar kind of smell. But yeah, Glenglassaugh should be quite experimental. And I think this month, it was like December 8th or December 11th, so maybe yesterday, was their 10th birthday when they reopened. And that's quite exciting because Glenglassaugh was shut for a long time. It was like, I think more than 30 years, I think it was shut for. If someone's on Google, feel free to chat that. But they were shut for quite a long time and then reopened again. And you got loads of old stock. And I think that distillery is a prime example where you can just like throw loads of cool casks at it, release them, make unusual blends, peat it to super high levels, peat it to medium levels and low levels, and just be experimental and see what happens. The taste on this with a little bit of water in it, I will say I'm not enjoying it too much. It's brought out a lot more of the spice and much more of that kind of astringency, that this almost like acidic style to it. But we'll give it a go again. I see now it's opened up a little bit. and it's almost become like a tiny version of itself. I thought I'd give it a go. Can't go wrong. PX46. Yeah, the cask finishes in Glenglass are really good. They did there was like a peated virgin oak one that I was really intrigued by, but I think I just missed it. I think it's still around somewhere, but I'll find it at some point. I'm just comparing the GD Teapot with the younger brother. Cask strength. Teapot is winning hands down. Interesting, because I really enjoyed the 10-year-old cask strength. Really enjoyed it when I tried that back in like May or June. And I say this one's challenged me quite a bit. It's almost become like a baby version of what it was now, so I've still lost those red fruity top notes, but initially the taste is syrupy. That syrupy thickness has come back. But I'm honestly still blown away by how herbaceous it is. Like, it reminds me so much of like Barbler 2000 and Barbler 05, because they smell really sweet and delicious, and then when you try them, that's when the spice and like that kind of big green grassy herby note comes in. It's like cinnamon, nutmeg, like certain elements like rosemary and thyme, and like really kind of meaty herbaceous styles. Reminds me quite a lot of Craig Ellicky as well, actually. A little bit more water. Quite an interesting story relating to whiskey and water today. I was talking to a couple, came into the shop looking for a gift. The guy drank brandy, and the woman drank vodka. And if she didn't drink it straight, she drank it like vodka lime and lemonade or vodka lime and soda. And you know, someone's looking for like a whiskey that's similar to brandy, you go towards Macallan, Glendronach, Dalmore, Glenrothes. And we were trying Glenrothes peated cask, and I think he tried it. It's like, I really like that, it's quite interesting. Didn't expect him to like a peated cask style, even though it's very subtle. I think it's an old Lefroy barrel, but it's a very subtle type of smoke. And we gave a little sample to his wife, and she was like, I don't drink straight whiskey. So, well, how do you drink your vodka? And she's like, I mix it. It's like, okay, cool. So we're not going to give you straight 40% whiskey if you don't drink straight anything. So we got a little bit of water. It was in a little plastic sample cup about yay big. Half of it whiskey, half of it water. She loved it. She totally fell in love with it. She bought a bottle, her husband bought a bottle, one as a gift and one for themselves. And, you know, water's a magical thing. It's it makes up most of any bottle of whiskey. Not necessarily this one, because it's nearly 60% alcohol. But I get kind of frustrated when people look at water and they kind of turn their nose up at it. Like, I've never had anything to my whiskey. It's like, that's cool. Drink it how you want. I've got no problem with you drinking it however you want it to. But when you're trying and you're experimenting with numerous different things, or you're trying to make a whiskey channel more interesting by doing live streams, water's quite a good ingredient, and I think you should do more with it. And adding a little bit of water to this has changed it up quite a lot. It's gone slightly discoloured now. It's got quite a lot of fog kind of gathering in the glass, Scotch mist as they all call it. It's gone a slightly kind of translucent colour, so it's not as clear as it was before. What's up, Welsh? What's going on, dude? And again, I'm just getting more alcohol. I don't know if it's me. Yeah, the sour component comes through on the Teapot Dram. Very similar to Palate 2003. Had to wait 20 minutes for it to open up. Okay, then I'll put it to one side, and we'll chat a little bit more about water and how important water is with whiskey. Because at the minute all I'm getting off that is just quite a lot of alcohol. So we'll let it sit and just see if anything changes. But we're 25 minutes in, or 28 according to that clock. And today, if that woman hadn't tried a little bit of 50% whiskey, 50% water, she wouldn't have enjoyed the whiskey, she wouldn't have bought a bottle, and she'd still just drink vodka rather than trying this really nice, unusual bottle of Glenrothes. So for the new consumers, I think water is extremely important. And I think what happens too much now is that people will come in, if you work in retail, or if you work in whiskey, if you're a whiskey ambassador and you're talking to people on a front-to-front, one-on-one basis, there's always so many stories of, oh, my dad told me not to add anything to whiskey, and Uncle Jim says never add anything other than more whiskey to whiskey. Uncle Jim might drink a lot of whiskey, but he's not necessarily an expert, and he might not, dissect things and make them all unusual and test a whiskey to its full experience. I add water to most of my high-strength independent bottles, as you should. I think an important thing to note with cask-strength whiskey is that the distillery has given this to you to be like, look, this is fun. This is its natural, rawest profile, especially if it's a single barrel rather than like a blended batch style, like this Glengoyne, or Lefroy 10 cask strength, or loads of other stuff. But it's in your hands then to experiment as much as possible and to get as much as possible out of your bottle. If you add a couple of drops of water to one glass of whiskey, you're not ruining the entire bottle. It's not going to ruin the entire experience for you. If I had a bottle of this Glengoyne, if I was lucky enough to get one, guaranteed the first dram I pour, I'd enjoy it straight up, neat, experience the whiskey in its full form. No doubt about that. But an important thing is when you go back, Alan, Glengoyne batch 6, because of you, I did quite a bit of water to it, we're just testing it up. Still got quite a bit left in the sample bottle you gave me though, so thank you. Adding water is extremely important, and if you're a whiskey fan and you love going through every little molecule of whiskey and trying to dissect the bottle to its core ingredients, it's about adding water and about seeing if these flavours cut through at different ABVs. So I don't have a barometer with me, so I can't measure what the ABV of this is now. I'd take a guess at probably about, certainly below 50. I also bought through a Booner and the high-strength bourbons. I like to drink whiskey, not sip it. Exactly. And it's about drinking it. It's not about just throwing it down your neck for the sake of drinking whiskey. Most of you guys watching this don't do that anyway. You'll sip it and enjoy every glass. I'm sure you do. But it's about just taking time and enjoying this kind of thing, especially at cask strength, because if you drink a lot of this at natural proof, your head will hurt in the morning and your health will deteriorate. So you do have to be careful. It is an acidic, hazardous material. So the sharpness of the ABV has gone away. There's still a kind of chocolatey note, it was originally dark and natural strength, and now it's moved into more of kind of milky style. Adding water is part of the fun. Find that sweet spot. Always find the sweet spot. It's milky now, and the red fruit things come back, but it's almost like a cherry. It's moved from like raspberry into cherry. A bit more vanilla. I wasn't getting any vanilla at the start. Almost like a sponge cake. In fact, it's reminding me quite a lot of like just Victoria sponge cakes, so like sponge, cream and jam. There's like some really nice element of that. A little bit of fizz. Just a little bit of fizz and booze kicking around in the back still, but it's a natural product. I expect to see that a bit. Now that's good. Well, the finish becomes like really dry. Like it's taken all the moisture from the roof of my mouth. Now, I've no idea what the ABV of this is, but having added maybe like half a cap of water to it, I've really found a sweet spot with that whiskey that I'm liking now. There's those red notes are coming back. There's a nice vanilla sponge note to it. A little bit of cream, milk chocolate. Certainly a sweeter style. But as I drink it, the spice is still a little bit there. I've killed off most of the big spice, that big herbaceous spice we had at the start. And now I've found like it's just becoming dry, but in like a really cool way. Like a really nice glass of red wine is. That's very Moorish. That's the sweet spot for me. So Alan, with the rest of the sample that you lovingly give me, natural cask strength, it was wonderful. It was this big hit of almost like balsamic vinegar, red wine vinegar, raspberry and dark chocolate. Really intense culinary style flavours. But I now know that half a cap of water added to this, that's the sweet spot for me. But now we found the sweet spot. What happens if we take it beyond that? So there's probably like another half a cap left in that. Just throw the whole thing in, just because we do have some other whiskies to talk about as well. And I don't want to waste your time. So now the colour is just, well, the colour isn't too attractive now. I'll say that. It's almost got like the whiskey's lovely, but the colour is almost like a pond water kind of colour. A river that's not been cleaned for a while. Yeah, Russell, absolutely. Those tannic, kind of almost like red winey notes towards the back of my palate. I'm really enjoying that. I don't love red wine, but every time I find a good one, I make a note of it. Recently got another bottle of Lagavulin in 2013. It's amazing. It's good and neat with water, but not too much. Yeah, you do have to find a sweet spot with water because some whiskies just won't work with it at all. But you have to test it to find out. Some whiskies will work with it, but having added a full cap of water to this, now we're going to find out if it does work with a lot of water. The colour is not great, but that natural filtered style, just a paper filter, I'd imagine. Let's have a go. Also, now it is getting quite citrusy. Now it's more of like this kind of classic Glengoyne 10, kind of like apples, pears. You really kind of, you're dialing back the cask influence now and getting that spirits coming out a little bit more. Like no alcohol at all on the nose. I'd imagine that's probably been taken down to like, if not low 40s, maybe even below 40%. Interesting. The finish has now ceased to be dry. Well, that's a lie. It's still a little bit dry, but nowhere near as it was before. And it almost reminds me of like a crumbly kind of cheese, like a crumbly kind of cheddar, creamy, almost like kind of fruity, acidic thing. No dirty water, Alan. That's just the natural colour. That, I mean, it's a blue bottle, but you know, proof. Quite lucky in Manchester, got some really good water. Hi, Jazz. So now it's lost all the fun of that cask influence. There's no real big acidic tannic note to it. That kind of balsamic, exactly, Scotch mist, very poetic. You know, that element of kind of acidic vinegar has gone away from it, which was fun. The finish is still a little bit dry, but it is kind of cheesy, but not in an unpleasant way. How am I doing? I'm doing well. I've just finished day 7 of 10 in a row at work, and I'm actually doing okay. I thought retail would kill me for 10 days in a row, but I'm doing good, Jez. 2 more days to go, then a day off, which isn't really a day off because I'm working at a whiskey festival in Manchester. Then another couple of days, then an actual day off. I think my first actual day off is December 20th. Which has been my 2nd day off in December. So, you know, busy month. But we're doing quite well. My throat's a bit hoarse, as you can hear, because talking all day. But yeah, we're doing well. Thank you for asking that. But yeah, I think with this whiskey now, I'm at the point where it's lost a lot of its fun. It's still a very nice, drinkable whiskey. But we've gone beyond the point of, like, the flavour and the excitement of that cash strength style has gone away. And with water, you know, it's like finding a balance. You know, we still need the excitement of the influence of alcohol and the influence of a cask and its natural capacity, with a bit of water to make it slightly more palatable. You say Trooper Russell, I say idiot. But you know, it's retail at Christmas. You know, most whiskey shops do 50% of their business in the last 6 months of the year. So it's all hands to the ground, all the troops running wild. I'm not the only one on a long stint, you know. Do a little retail. I've done 21 days straight at Christmas. Jesus, well, I think the longest I did was 14. It was a couple of years ago. Like one of our members of staff just left, just walked out and never came back. And I did 2 weeks in a row straight. I looked at the world in a different way after those 14 days. People changed. I was like my Vietnam. So, I'm going to kind of down the rest of this and get some water going. And I'm going to leave it up to you lot to decide what we talk about next. So we've done the Glengoyne. I'll put that to one side. And I've got 4 others in front of me. Yeah, I can imagine working in supermarkets at Christmas is just awful. I mean, within whiskey retail, it's a very niche kind of specialist thing. So people only come in if they want whiskey. I take the week off after Christmas. Alan's got 3 days off. You're a lucky guy, Alan. An extra 24 hours. I've not got a week off till January. Well, that week I'm in Canada, so like the week, whichever week January 16th, and that's the week off I have. So, while I clear my throat and rehydrate, the 27 of you watching, thank you for joining in. I've got 4 whiskies to me. I wouldn't want to drink all of them tonight because I do have to get up in the morning to work. So what I've got a little bit of a sample left of 17-year-old Willowbank Batch 1, which is a blended New Zealand whiskey from a distillery that shut in 1997. I believe it's all red wine cask, and that is 53.8%. So that's kind of cool. Letterboards, see you later, man. We have Elements of Islay Kalila 8th edition. This is coming in at 55.2%. I bought this last year actually. Reviewed it on the channel because Whiskey Jar had it, and I loved it. So in the taxi back to the office, I just I whiskey exchanged it and bought a bottle of it. So cask strength Kalila. We've got batch 8 of Lefroy 10 cask strength, which is coming in at 59.2%. This was actually maybe like the third or fourth whiskey I reviewed when I took the channel over. Still have a little bit left because, you know, it's not easy to get. And the big guy, this fella, which looks like it's washed up on a beach somewhere. This is a single cask bottling of an 11-year-old Highland Park from a sherry puncheon, so a very big barrel, bottled at 67% alcohol. So while I refresh myself and get some water, the 26 of you in the comments can decide which one of those we do. Whichever one gets the most, we'll do that one next. Probably only do 3 because I don't want to wake up with a hangover in the morning, and I've got some other stuff to do tonight as well. But so Willowbank blended whiskey, Highland Park cask strength, Kalila cask strength, or Lefroy cask strength. By all means, tell me which one you want me to do, and we'll talk about it next. Got to be the Highland Park. Well, so far that's winning. Highland Park, definitely. I think I know where this is going. Unless the other 24 of you come in with Willowbank, 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 Willowbank. HB, Highland Park, Highland Park, Highland Park. Well, the most vocal of you are talking about Highland Park. Now, for those of you that are familiar with the Whiskey Shop as a company, which is the company I work for, we have a membership club. And this is the first Lefroy, Billy. I'll do the Lefroy for you. We'll do the Lefroy for you, Billy. This is the first of a release from the W Club. So essentially, yeah, exactly, right, Welsh. We sent samples out to our W Club members of 2 different Highland Parks, and they got to pick which one we bottled. And surprisingly, they all went for the sherry cask one, which was 67% alcohol. Now, I bought this the other day because when it rolls up into the shop with natural colour, and I'll be honest, I bought it just because it said 67% ABV. I was just a sucker for the ABV. Opened it, shared it with the guys and girls in work, and we all pretty much fell in love with it. Where the Smoky Kalila fans, we're all here, Russell. I think it's just the ABV on this kind of gets people's minds going. So we'll pour a little bit, and we'll let it rest. And we can have a little bit of a chat about Highland Park, because I've got some friends who work for like Edrington, some really cool people, some of the nicest people I've ever met. But at the minute, and it'd be good to get some feedback from you folks in the comments, Highland Parks, they're confusing me quite a bit. I'm just going to leave that kind of, well, I'll put it out the way. I think there was a point where every week, maybe a couple of months ago, they were releasing a new bottle, and it was all going to travel retail. They had like the spirit of the bear and the claw of the eagle, and you know, the beak of the seagull or something, some just like obscure things. And there's a lot of, someone mentioned earlier on in the comments, I think it was a gentleman from Norway, that he just bought a single cask at 59.9% of a 13-year-old. Now, there's just a lot of these Highland Parks going around at the minute, and this is the only one I have tried. and bought. If there's any others kicking around, I'll be quite intrigued to try them and see how different they are. But this is cask number 2132. First fill American oak sherry puncheon. So it's a sherry barrel, but it's made from American oak, so quite consistent. We should expect some sweeter notes with it. But it is also a puncheon barrel. Now, a puncheon, legally in whiskey, we can't mature anything in a barrel which is over 700 litres. I think it's over 700 litres, because at that point it becomes like a marrying vessel, just to put things into, almost like a Solera vat. Whereas, I think, hogsheads can be anywhere from 250 to 450 litres. Sherry butt is about 500 to 550 litres. And I believe a puncheon is the maximum, about 600 litres. Again, if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me, because it's been a while since I've checked my barrel stats. But this is an American oak sherry cask. Beak of the Seagull. New Highland Park special release. American oak sherry cask. Puncheon at 67%. Independent bottles of Highland Park are a very different matter. Some of my favourite Highland Parks ever have been independent bottlings. Most of them from Hunter Lang, because that's the ones I'm exposed to the most. I think in 2015 or 16, the whiskey shop had a Highland Park 16 single barrel, which was just honestly amazing. I've sadly drank it all, and I drank it all before I took the channel over. But that whiskey is just like outrageous. But anyway, this Highland Park. So we're going to go into the nose. We're going to try it without water, and then we're going to slowly add water bit by bit and just see what happens, okay? Jesus. Just instantly, it's just like, poof, alcohol. But, accepting that, just so much toffee. So much kind of Highland Park burn of the snail is the new release. Even if that wasn't a joke, it sounds like it could be true. This thing is just layered with toffee, caramel, and fudge. I'm not putting my nose too far into that glass, because this thing has got some serious punch on it. It really does. The nose actually reminds me a lot of El Dorado rum, specifically El Dorado 15. It is very rum orientated. There's like this brown sugar, there's banana, toffee, fudge, which we've mentioned, vanilla, caramel. There's like a nutmeggy kind of Vin's in. He's here to make sure I don't run over, so that everyone watches his stream afterwards. Cadenhead HP 24 distilled 79 Highland Park 24. Damn. For those of you that are joining us, specifically you, Vin, we're trying this 67% Highland Park 11-year-old from a sherry cask. Sherry puncheon. It's just a nose of rum and like really kind of floral dessert options. Not drinking along tonight, but I bought a bottle from you over the weekend before last. Can't wait to try it. Oh, amazing. Richard, were you the gentleman that came in regarding the Glendronach 15? Because if so, amazing. Welcome to the stream. That's amazing. But yeah, toffee, fudge, caramel, rum, vanilla, nutmeg, kind of like dusty cinnamon, like ginger snap biscuits. Richard, amazing. Thank you for watching. Well, you don't have to. You can wait a little bit now until you. By the way, we've got your Glendronach 15 in stock now. So if you want to come in and like get it, you're more than welcome to. Have I frozen? Is it frozen? I think it's frozen. Shit. Are you freeze? Some of you can still hear me, but some of you can't see me. And for some of you, it is frozen. We'll work through it and just see what happens. I'm not sure why it's chosen to freeze. It's quite unfortunate. Right, what I'm going to do is, for those of you who can hear me, I'm going to stop it and then